Let's do an update on how broke I am so that you can feel better about your finances. And I have been not wanting to do an update or really talk about finances at all in the last week and a half because honestly, I'm just embarrassed about it and I want so badly to be out of this position, but it is not something that happens overnight, unfortunately. We have increased our income, we've cut down on expenses, but all of our extra money is going towards paying off our debt.
I mean, that's one of the things you can do right away. It's like you could increase how much money you bring in home, whatever that might be, a second job or just get a promotion or take on extra hours. So that's an easy way. Or I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's like it's one of the ways if you don't want to cut back. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to cut back my Starbucks, or I don't want to cut back my subscriptions that I have. But it's an option. It's like you just simply just make more money, which I'm not saying it's easy again, but it's just a option that you can take. Obviously, other things you do, of course, just cut back, try to cut expenses, cut down vacations or anything that's a bigger expense, car payments, of course, mortgages, which, yeah, those are always going to be topics of where majority of people's money is going to. But let's finish up what else she has to say.
Which means we still have no extra money. We're also not using credit cards at all. And so the money that we were able to spend going on those credit cards is now also decreased. So it is just not a good situation. And today is just a day I'm pissed about it, honestly. So right now we do not have any groceries. And I don't mean oh, we don't have stuff that's easy to make quickly. No, we actually don't have food to make. So I'm at Aldi. I need to get some groceries and, I just checked my checking account and I'm currently negative $8.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough. I mean, not even counting her face, no pun there or a pen to pause, but it's tough. Sometimes it's I think when you get into that mindset of oh, I'm behind, I got to pay these bills, I shouldn't buy anything else. Even sometimes it gets to the point of groceries or simple things maybe when you get gas, sometimes you don't put the full tank. You're oh, I'll just put $5 right now, $10 right now, $20 later, instead of filling up the whole tank. Because it's you're trying to cut back your expenses, and I get it. You will end up going to the gas station more. You will end up, in a sense, spending more possibly driving to the gas station. But sometimes you don't have that $50-$60, especially in California, to fill up your gas tank. Especially even in a small size sedan like a Corolla or anything. It's even if you're filling up 11 gallons, each one's, let's just say, roughly $5 per gallon, you're still going to spend about $55 just to fill up your tank. And that's a small car. We're not even talking about cars that have 15-gallon tanks, 17, 20, 22. And yeah, I mean, this is all types of tanks. I'm not getting into that though. But yeah, it's just I think with her mindset, it's I want to spend it on groceries. Sure, we need groceries, but it's you kind of want to see your credit card bill drop before you do anything else. It's it feels almost like a disease, I guess, which I guess that's a good way to treat it as well too, which she has said. She's been paying it off, which is really good. But it does get into that mindset of oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, or I shouldn't spend on little things. And over time, it kind of eats at you a little bit, just in terms of you had to cut back so much.
Because something came through that I wasn't expecting. So thankfully I have money in our savings account that I set aside for taxes on the money that I've earned from TikTok, which is still not enough to cover all of that, by the way. But I'm going to be borrowing some money from that so that we can get groceries, and then I will just have to pay it back when I get paid from my actual job.
Yeah, I mean that's another way. It's so she did at least have some sort of a savings, some sort of emergency money, which she was fortunately making off TikTok. And yeah, it's sometimes you might need to dip into those. It's not always ideal because obviously you're losing money if she had, let's say, invested, or even if she was making the bank, which usually in the US at least only pays out 0.01%, 0.02%, which is really minimal. This is probably a good bet in terms of, yeah, she should get groceries instead of starving, That could affect obviously her income or also her well-being mentally and physically too. So it's a good way to go about it.
But I have been financially not doing great. I am a nurse. Even though I am a nurse and I make good money, I don't have money, which is the sad part because of the choices that I've made still currently and the choices that I've made previously, from a couple of years. I am in credit card debt.
She is in $20,000 credit card debt. She's acknowledged that she has issues with her spending, which is a good thing. Again, I've said it before, it's always good to at least first acknowledge okay, I have a spending issue, I got to work on that. It doesn't mean necessarily we got to move on to step 2 of actually figuring out a plan, but it's good that she at least realized that, okay, she has a spending plan. And maybe she has thought about how can I bring this down? Should I try to go out less or whatever it may be? This is a long video, I won't get into all the topics, but it's just Yeah, it's like even at her pay, being a nurse, typically in most places, even across the US, it's typically good pay. There's different levels, of course. There's like LVN, RN. There's a lot of levels I can't even mention. But it's like regardless of what type of nurse she is, and even typically you get paid pretty decently across the U.S. Best if you're in California, if you want to know that as well too, or a traveling nurse, let's just say. But she's still struggling. Maybe she's spending too much, and $20,000 in credit card debt means she would have to have at least decent credit in terms of before that, in sense to be able to get loaned so much from, let's say, of course, that credit card, like how much what her limit is. But it's still something to work on, and it's just like let's see what she has to say about that.
And it's this unhealthy cycle that I have been putting myself into, and this just relationship with money has just never been something that I was talked about. Lifestyle creep is definitely a thing, and
Yeah, and I want to talk about that, like lifestyle creep. That's like one of the biggest things that people have issues with too sometimes. And it's just like you get a promotion, and sure, it's a good thing, whatever. Treat yourself, and I actually mean that, like treat yourself, whatever. Nice dinner, nice lunch, or buy yourself something a little nice. Not saying go all out and buy a brand new car and you have $1,000 payments, or that brand new whatever Gucci bag or Louis Vuitton bag that's gonna cost you $3,000 and do it all on credit. I wouldn't recommend that. It depends on always, of course, everyone's financial situation is always different. It depends on how much money you're bringing into. But again, it's like lifestyle creep is a big thing. It's like people might get bigger salaries, and it's a good thing. It's always a positive thing. But it's like they accommodate that extra money coming in, and they see it as like, oh, I have extra money that I can spend. Like, oh, I'll be fine. I have more money than I'm making. But they don't always directly correlate to like, okay, I'm bringing in $100 more. Let's just say, we'll keep it a really simple number per year. But I'm spending $90 of that and only having an extra $10 that actually go into, let's say, her savings account. That would be really bad. That's probably not a good financial decision. She should be, let's say, keeping the similar budget that she had before. If not, and I get it, it's like maybe you pick up a new subscription of Netflix for another like 20 or $22 before they increase the price as usual. But that might be more reasonable compared to like, let's say, spending, let's say, the whole $90 as we mentioned. And it's like, you got to try to like reduce your expenses, especially even though you're bringing in more money. And we want to, it's like, everyone wants to enjoy the money. It's like, you earned it. It's like, you should spend it how you want it. It's not for your parents to say what you should do with it, but it's always going to be something that's always going to happen with anyone. It's just like, you want to just spend it. And I think another thing too, is she said like, it goes into a cycle. Some people stress eat, some people stress buy. I mean, I've been in college, and it's like literally as you see the other students in front of you, and it's just like, you see them like, they could be window shopping or they could be buying inside a class, but it's just like, I think people just like, when you get stressed out, you kind of want to just like distract yourself a bit, maybe treat yourself and buy yourself nice things or whatever that might be as well too, or just buying snacks, whatever you might like.
You are trying to make a brand for yourself, when you're aspiring to do something that you want to do, and content creation has been something that I've always wanted to do. Being a YouTuber has always been something I want to do. I've always just wanted to be on camera. I've always just wanted to make a name for myself, whether it be like through content creation, being a YouTuber, being an entrepreneur, like whatever it may be. I always felt like I was meant to do something other than nursing. And so I think for years I have been continuously like, going with the trends and like, buying whatever everyone else buys so that like I can post about it.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. It's always the trends. That's always gonna be the biggest thing. I think it's not now, like back then it was more just like, advertisements what you saw on the billboards or TV commercials or what you heard on the radio or YouTube. Now it's everywhere. It's like even your own social media page, your own friends. It's like subconsciously, even though your friends might not be saying like, oh, go buy the Tesla, go get this brand new car, go get this brand new bag I just bought, which looks amazing. Even if it does look amazing, even though that nice Gucci bag might look nice on you, it's almost like another form of advertisement as well too, where it's just like, it makes you feel like I gotta buy this thing. It's like I wanna fit in with my friends. I don't wanna like be left out and everything. And I get it. It's like you wanna always be in, but it's like you can't be buying everything unless you can actually financially afford it. And so another thing is like, one thing is like dividing, like there's being one thing's able to buy something, one thing's able to afford it. Okay, let's say you see that new trend. It's only like, let's say it's a $80 trend. I don't know what it might be. I'm trying to think of something. Maybe it's that Flask water bottle thing that everyone's buying. And it's like Some people even buy them on eBay or whatever, try to like buy them for more just so they could just fit in with the trend. And we're even we're even seeing now that there's like a lawsuit and everything possibly, but we won't get into that either. But overall, it's like you keep buying into the trends, and it's like there's gonna be another trend another week from now or another month from now. And it's just as we've seen, it's like trends come and go really quickly now. It's just like, I mean, over time, it's like I feel like the trend cycle of like how fast like something gets like cycled out to the next thing happens a lot quicker than it used to before. And it's like obviously you're gonna miss some of the things. Some things might not be to your taste, and thinking like, oh, I saved money there. But there's gonna be a lot of other things that are gonna catch your interest as well too. And it's like you can't be buying everything. I get it, you want to always treat yourself, but sometimes you have to just like skip some of those things as well too.
You will never catch me putting down my debit card to pay for anything, which is kind of crazy because when I was younger, I thought putting everything on a debit card was a flex, but that was before I knew that everybody and their mother uses a credit card, but the difference between someone in debt and thriving is how you use the card. Assuming you're smart and you already started building credit by the time you were 18 years old or were an authorized user in your parents' card for a long time, that means you qualify for probably fairly good cards if you're making income. And one of my favorites is the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and this card is what got me on the wave of paying for everything.
Yeah, I think that's one of the mindsets that you see. It's like obviously you're gonna just follow with your friends' trends. Like if maybe you go out together to the mall and you see them buying everything, and it's like sure, in the moment, it's like maybe they're not thinking about it, or you don't see it. Maybe in their head, they already have it like, okay, for this small trip, I'm going to only spend $200-300. Maybe they already have it planned. Or maybe they don't. But you're subconsciously, you're going to see it, or you're going to think about it and be like, I want to do that. I want to just be able to, like, in a sense, like flex and just buy everything. But again, maybe that person had it planned, they're going to buy themselves all those things. And maybe they like saved it in advance instead of just like, dipping into like complete credit and not having the money available. And it's something else I recommend if, in general, it's just like if you have a credit card, if you know you're going to spend $500, it's like, okay, have $500 in cash. So that's your debit card or your bank account ready to pay for it. Don't just simply be like, oh, I should have it by the next paycheck. And it's like, you might actually have it ready, but sometimes things come up. Whatever your car breaks down, you got to fix the alternator, or something in your house breaks, or something that you're using. Maybe your Dyson hairstylist fan breaks down and just like got to replace it, and it happens. And you might have a plan that now it's going to be 500 plus the 300, let's just say, to replace that, plus taxes as well too. But yeah, it's like always got to prepare. And it's like, I think a lot of people just see this credit card. I think the disconnect there is like cash, you kind of visually see it a lot more. It's more physical. You kind of, obviously if your wallet's really thick, over time it's just going to shrink. But a credit card is always going to be the exact same thickness. It's going to keep being used until it gets declined one day. It's going to keep working until then, basically. So I think that's like the disconnect that people have with using credit cards sometimes. It's like you don't make that connection of like, do I actually have the money? Can I afford it? You just think more of like, I should be able to buy it, like in terms of like, I should be able to afford that one day, maybe not right now, but we're just going to throw it on the credit card and it should be fine.
With a credit card in order to earn points versus just cash back on like a normal intro credit card. And don't get it twisted, I didn't learn any of this overnight. I literally was in $4,000 worth of credit card debt my freshman year of college because I didn't know how to use a credit card and didn't understand the payment cycles or anything. So don't be like me. If I were to go back, I'd probably want to try something like Fizz, which is a debit card that actually helps you build credit. And as a disclaimer, this is the company I work for and I actually really love the...
Yeah, so hopefully that's not an advertisement to use that card, but if you want to get into a bit about like college as well too, I'll talk about that in a different video of how much debt I used to have in credit card debt, which I did. I kind of try to use it smartly, but that's a completely different video and a different topic. But there also are like cards, I'm not saying necessarily to do this just to use the money because it has no interest, but there's a lot of cards offered to like college students that are basically trying to get you when you're younger and you hopefully just stay a customer for your life. But they're trying to get you to obviously get those like 0 APR cards, which are amazing because it's like you literally have no interest on the credit that they give you. So whatever they give you like $2,000 or for her maybe a $4,000 limit, you can use that and you can keep using it up to let's say $4,000, and for 18 months you don't owe anything, which is really nice. And it's like there's basically zero interest, and you can think of inflation, it's almost like it's for some people making money. Not that I recommend this, but it's just like it's a thought to have as well too. But I definitely recommend look at those like 0 interest cards. You can get them even later in life. You don't have to be in college. Sometimes they ask for like higher credit scores, so they're not as easily accessible. But there's definitely cards for college students specifically. So look around. I know like Bank of America has some. I believe Chase and Citi have some too. So it's definitely something worth looking into. And yeah, it's like I think in college again, it's the same thing. It's like you're kind of more focused on your studies and not really focused on like what am I spending on food right now? Am I spending too much every day? It's just more of just like, need to get my classes out of the way and it's going to happen. So again, we're going to miss things.
Whoever is doing the PR for credit card debt, hats off, salute to you, because it has scared the shit out of me. I see so many TikToks of people that have accumulated like thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. And I always see commenters saying like, you shouldn't post that online. You shouldn't share that. You should share that because it's scaring me. I'm terrified.
Yeah, and I think it can go both ways, to be honest. I think for me, I'm trying to use it as like an education purpose for you guys and just kind of like breaking down people's, using them as an example. I'm not trying to use them as bad examples or good examples. It's just like, it's always good to see both sides. People who use money well and people who use money not so well. I will say it like that. But even she said it, for her, it scares her. Obviously, for some people, they might even see it as like, I'm sure you've seen TikToks or other videos or shorts, and it's just like, they have 20K in debt or whatever that big number is, and maybe they've inflated a bit, but let's just say they owe 100K in debt, they're dancing, they put some nice music in the background, and I feel like it kind of like makes it more jolly, and it makes sometimes maybe some people feel like, I only have 20K in debt, she has 100K, it's like, it's not that bad. Or even if someone has 10K in debt and you only have 3K in debt, in credit card debt, you're thinking like, oh, my situation is not that bad, theirs is 3 times worse than mine. But again, that 3K in debt that you might owe is probably going to go up over time if you don't actually like take care of it and actually work on bringing it down. So for her, it scares her. For some people, it might excite them and be just like, my situation's not that bad, it'll be okay. For me, I guess I'm trying to find like an educational purpose. And even for myself, again, it's a credit card that affects, I'm pretty sure, 99, if not 100% of people in the US, if I had to guess. At some form, I'm sure most people have used a credit card incorrectly, if you want to say it like that. Not that there is a perfect way, but I think there's better ways to use them, of course, as well, too.
I pay my credit cards off every like 2 days. The credit card of Canada may be more effective than the anti-tobacco campaigns have been in the United States. At least for me. The War on Drugs campaign tripped and fell and scraped its chin up, so that way the credit card debt TikTok could fly, could soar above the clouds. And I'm not talking about like you have to put your life expenses on a credit card. I'm talking about people that buy like $40,000 worth of shoes like Carrie Bradshaw did in second.
And I talked about that in the previous video. Sometimes that high credit card, the utilization that they give you, whatever, 20, 40K, as you mentioned, some people buying 20K shoes or whatever it might be, even if it's a lot lower. I feel sometimes it's like on purpose, which I think they do, of course. Credit card debt or utilization should not be that high. I think on purpose, even if you have amazing credit, you earn a ton. Especially at a younger age, you're more likely to make like financial mistakes, I feel, compared to as you grow, you kind of get better at those things. Yeah, I think it's a bad thing when you have like, it's like a good and bad thing. Like if you think about like how some parents will help out their kids build their credit as they're growing up, literally as they're like 1 or 2 years old or 10 years old, and get them that like credit card we have like connected to the parents' bank account, and that builds their credit. But then they get their credit card, they go to college, and then they have like 20, 40K in credit utilization. And I think some people are not always ready to be using something like that. And it's like, it's almost like your parents give you that tool, and it's a good thing. They help you build that really nice, let's say, I don't know what to call it. They help you build a really nice tool, but then they never teach you how to use it, and they end up using it incorrectly, and that ends up costing you money. It can hurt things, and obviously yourself financially. But it's like, it's something that's like, if they're going to give you such a nice tool, let's just say, they should definitely teach you how to like use it better instead of like using it incorrectly. And you know, that 40K is a big amount. And you might, especially at let's say at 18, 19 in college, you might think like, oh, I have 40K credit utilization. Maybe it's even at 0 APR. Let me just do 2K. It's not that bad. I have 40 available. And that's what they might see as like a ratio thing. Or it's like, oh, I only use 15K. I have 40K. That's more than double than what I've used already. And sure, even at 0 APR might be fine if you could get a card like that. But over time, you're eventually going to owe money on it, and those payments are going to be pretty big, just simply going to the credit in terms of like not even going to principal. So completely into interest.
Hi, my name is Angela, and I have been on a debt-free, no-buy-year journey all of 2023, and today is the last payday of the year, and I can officially say that I have paid off $21,808.40 in debt this year. The crowd goes wild. I
was going to finish it there. I want to just try to keep these more positive notes towards the end and not make it so negative. But it's a good thing. It's like she paid off $21,000, about like $22,000 in credit card debt. That's really good. I think besides people posting whatever the happy videos of how much debt they've accumulated, which is not a good thing, I think seeing these videos of people paying off their debt, 21,000, 22,000, whatever it may be, it's a good thing. It's like, it shows you, it's like, you can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. And it's not like a bad way in terms of saying, oh, anyone can do it. It's like more of like, try to like, in a sense, by example, you see they can do it, then I can definitely be able to do it. Or maybe I could work on it. Maybe I can't pay off my 22K in debt the way she did. Maybe she's with her parents. Maybe it's like a higher paying job, but it's definitely something to consider as well too. So that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, like, subscribe, whatever. Follow up on future videos. Kind of like covering these, just giving like my personal view. I'd give examples. I try to use myself as an example, but until next time.